Hiya, it's Owlet here, back with another Doctor Who review, and I've literally just watched this week's episode, which was In the Forest of the Night. Yep, I literally just watched it and I couldn't remember its name. I was going to say In the Night Forest, but no. In the Forest of the Night. By Frank Cottrell Boyce. Got that one right. Yes, go team. So this episode was a bit of a episode. I can't really decide if I liked it or disliked it. I just feel like it was kind of like a nothing episode. It had some nice themes to it, but not really anything substantial. Like, it didn't absorb me into it like last time. Absorb? Engage? Enthrall? Hold my attention. There we go, that's the word I want. Okay, let's just get on with the review. Breaking it down. That was the worst excursion protocols I have ever seen. Actually, probably they could be worse, but that was not good at all. Before leaving the museum, they should have done a head count to make sure they had all of their students. The fact that they didn't notice that Maeve was missing up until the doctor called and said, I have a Maeve on my TARDIS, was deeply, deeply alarming. That is terrible, terrible teaching. And whenever they were walking through the garden, they had two teachers at the front and no teacher at the back, which meant that the children could disappear or get taken in between and no one was going to notice if like a wolf ate them or a tiger ate them, which were real issues. And I feel like that is a problem to begin with. I mean, maybe it's just me focusing on details, but they are very basic safety issues when it comes to excursions. Hogwarts runs better school excursions and their death rate of students is alarmingly high. So that's saying something. Clara seems not that interested in her class or that interested in teaching, and also, why are these two teachers taking this specific class? Clearly that was just written for the narrative, but I feel like given their school it wouldn't cross over like that, because one of them teaches PE and then one of them's just a general teacher, and that's a very small amount of students too going on an excursion. I don't know, the whole plot premise from the beginning was a bit like, I can't really believe any of this, or if this is the way it's going, you're just kind of asking for trouble. Trouble? Trouble? Trouble. Anyway, things that I did like was the instantaneous forest. It kind of reminded me a lot of Jumanji, where the plants rapidly start growing, and that's like one of my favourite movies, so I was like, yay, Jumanji plant time! And it had wild animals in it too, a bit like Jumanji, so definitely getting that vibe coming across. There were very strong Fires of Pompeii moments coming through, particularly towards the end, when Clara, what did she say? When she said, if you can't save them all, save who you can. And not everyone has to die. That was very similar to Donna trying to get the Doctor to save someone when Mount Vesuvius was going to erupt. And that is the episode where we first see Peter Capaldi in Doctor Who. So I was wondering if that was going to start, you know, giving us some insight into how he kind of remembered his face, or they were saying that they were going to address the fact that he, you know, is a person that we've already seen on Doctor Who and now he's playing the Doctor. They said they were going to cover that, and they have yet to do so, so I was hoping that that's where that was going, but it didn't kind of go there. I like the idea that the trees are saving everybody. It makes me sad that, you know, we still cut them down and you know, destroy a lot of them to make furniture, as the Doctor said. So that was an interesting statement about how the trees have always been there and have saved us before, and also kind of just highlighted, I felt like this episode kind of just highlighted the stupidity of humanity. Like, it was just a, these are your shortcomings. Revel in them, or, you know, feel uncomfortable about all the decisions you're making. It was a bit of a introspective kind of theme going on, and I feel like there's something strange about this Doctor Who season. It's dealing with a lot of sensitive topics, like medicating children who have suffered trauma. Like, Maeve was hearing voices and, you know, she'd lost her sister, so they were like, oh, well, she should probably take her medication. And the Doctor was like, no, you know, you hear these voices and you just want to shut them up. And then Danny Pink was trying to be like, look, she's entitled to as many nervous tics as she wants. And the Doctor's like, this is not nervous tics. But he didn't have the history to know what Maeve's trauma was or how she was responding to it. He had his own theories. And I know that there's countless arguments for and against medicating children and not medicating children, based on circumstances and personal choices and so much other stuff, which is why I felt like it was a very strong topic, but really controversial, and I don't feel like you could kind of cover it as a passing, oh, well, let's not medicate her, and find out that it was just the trees talking to her and everything's going to be okay, and mad props for dealing with trauma that way. kind of thing. I don't know, we already had a bit of this issues with Kill the Moon. There were some sensitive topics that were brought up there, and I just don't know if it's the platform for which to voice it on. But then I guess TV is used as that kind of platform and gateway to discussing very controversial and heavy topics. But I just didn't even know if it was going there, but I just felt really kind of conflicted about if it was a good message to be sending. But I guess everyone's entitled to interpret that the way they want, and that's fine. There was lots of Little Red Riding Hood hints, which I think was intentional with the wolves and having Maeve wear the red coat and run around and leaving her objects like Hansel and Gretel. So lots of fairy tale themes, which is a bit of whimsy and a bit of fun. Thought the wolf thing was actually really scary. Not the wolves jumping the fence, that was a bit silly. But when Maeve was standing there and then the camera panned to this side and you could see the eyes in the bushes, and then it panned to that side and you could see the eyes in that bushes, I was like, oh my goodness, that bit made me scared. I was a bit Snow White, I think if people know that movie, when she's running through the forest after the huntsman said, you know, the queen wants to kill you, and she sees all the eyes in the trees and she starts flailing and then she faints. That scene terrified me as a kid, and I think like that was one of the most poignant moments of terror in Disney animation for me. Like not even the Lion King with the throwing Mufasa off the cliff kind of thing was as intense as all those looming eyes. So I just, maybe it's just a thing that links back to that, but that was quite cool filming. And I did like the fact that the lighting kept getting darker as the forest kept growing thicker, but it just felt a little bit stitched together. So there was all these other little pieces that were kind of floating around. It was like dust particles in a sunbeam. That's how I would describe this episode. Because you had Danny, Pink, and Clara having their issues. You had Doctor and Maeve. You had Clara and the class. You had Danny and the class. You had Clara and the Doctor. And then they were all just kind of floating around each other and bouncing off each other, but not quite connecting and not quite smoothing things over. So I just felt a bit detached and had trouble kind of keeping track of everybody. And, you know, the class was great. I liked the children were the highlight of this episode because they were very true to life. That's really how kids would react to these things, and how, you know, Maeve wasn't that surprised by the TARDIS and the kids were kind of like, whatever, let's take selfies in front of the TARDIS. And I feel like that was very human and very current. So that was a very strong point and a very good pull in the episode. Like, oh, okay, this is modern day, this is what we're doing. But then like, the people burning down the forest weren't really setting up much security parameters, and then when it was like, oh, it's not working, like it was just a lot of ill thought out things. So again, I don't know if it was just trying to highlight that, man, humans make dumb decisions, or if it was just, man, this writing wasn't quite polished off to its shiniest potential. I'm not sure. There were little fun jokes in there, like the Doctor saying he hasn't seen Les Mis, and Danny Pink was great in this episode. I feel like he was much more human, much more cuddly, not a great teacher, but, you know, a better human being. Definitely just had a bit more depth to him. He wasn't so robotic, which was a nice change. When Clara said, I don't want to be the last of my species, and earlier on when the Doctor said, well, that's the, you know, burden of being the last of my species, haven't we established that he's not the last of his species? What with the whole 50th special? Like, I know he can't get access to them, and I know that they're like off in some, whatever they are, in a dimension on the space pocket planet, what not, but they're still there somewhere, right? Or is he just like, that doesn't count? Or am I just really not making sense of things? I don't know, I'm just very confused about the whole Gallifrey Time Lords thing now. And I did see someone posted saying that they think they have this theory that the Master is back and the Master is the Doctor, and they're either inhabiting the one Doctor, and that's why he keeps wearing black with red lapels, and there's this whole idea that the Master and the Doctor are battling for, you know, the body, and that he could eventually reveal himself to be the Master. And that's a very interesting theory, and I would like to potentially see that story play out, but I'm just not so sure that's where it's going in this episode. The Doctor felt a lot more human and a lot kinder again, so it was a bit more like 11. Except he also had that random comment about, I'm an attractive masculine figure and you're in a forest with me. And that just seemed really left of center. I felt like we'd left that Doctor behind for a bit, but maybe not. Yeah, I just don't know how I feel. Mixed feelings, very mixed bag for this episode. That finale preview looked revolting, and I don't want to go anywhere near it, and there's the Cybermen back, and Clara's are like, Oswald never existed, blah blah. No, I don't know if they've just cut that poorly, but it did not make me want to watch it at all. So if I was not reviewing Doctor Who, you rest assured that I would not be watching the finale. So if I watch it and it is terrible, I'm going to be very, very cranky. Okay? Just saying. There's a warning. Anyway, that's for the future. Hopefully we could be pleasantly surprised. Missy was back and vague, but not much was really happening or developing with Missy, so I'll also be annoyed if they rush that or if there's no clear explanation for it. I don't want another River Song fiasco. Please and thank you. That's just like, ugh. I think that's it. I think I've rambled quite sufficiently, and I'll see you all next week. Doodles! One quick thing. What was Annabelle in the end? Why did she just appear behind some trees? Was she a werewolf? Was she some magical tree creature? Was she some manifestation of Maeve's thoughts? Does Maeve have cool, powerful thoughts that she can create to life? What? There was no conclusive ending. I'm just like, is this a choose your own adventure? Flick to page 371 to find out what happens if Annabelle's a werewolf. Like, I don't know. It was just very strange. I would have liked some closure. I would like things to be a little bit tidier. I don't mind if you leave things open-ended, but that was just a bit too... There was really no point to any of this, which is always a little bit disappointing. But yeah, just thought I'd add that. Bye!